Hello once again and welcome back to another episode of Father and Sundays, the unexplainable guide to absolutely nothing. We are on episode 64 this week, Dad.
64.
I know. And we are talking about flight today.
Oh, are we?
Yeah, I'm not really sure what we're going to do, so let's just wing it.
Okay. Oh, God.
Right, stick around if you want to hear more. Hello, Dad. How are you?
I'm just recovering at the moment, to be honest.
Recovering? What from?
That joke in that introduction,
right.
yeah.
Have you been in my room before?
Yes, I have been in your room before, many times.
Do you like it? Did
yeah,
I? Just
do
asking,
like it.
Just making conversation.
Oh, right, okay, yeah, I like it. I wish I had a room like this when I was younger.
Not now.
With technology available. Well,
back in your day, they didn't have this tech.
No, that's what I mean. It would have been great. I could have done all sorts.
Like what?
Podcasts.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
What would you, if you, back in the day,
yeah,
back in the 1980s, because it's been similar kind of age to me, what would you have done a podcast on?
Oh, I was really into music and like playing music and things like that, so it would have been round music, definitely.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Anything specific?
Electronics, I don't know, just around writing songs and doing things like that. I used to love all that at that time, and the music I was into was all sort of electronic and new wave and stuff like that. So it would have been the stuff that I was interested in. Yeah. Or football. They were the two things I did.
Well, there's a lot of people who do football podcasts.
There are a lot of people who do football. Yeah.
Yes,
not easy to say. That's why I haven't done one yet. So how has your week been?
Yeah, it's been all right. It's been I've been pretty tired.
Yeah. Why?
Well, I started my new job.
Yes, and how's that going?
It's all right. It's not started properly yet. It started, but it's not started properly to this point, because my actual role, like title, that kind of stuff starts next week. Yeah. This week I was kind of just learning and trying to sort through stuff.
Yeah, no, fair enough. It's been another bit of a thumping week for me, work-wise.
Yeah.
Quite a lot to do. Having a few issues with my uniform at the moment, which is a bit of a worry. Yes. Well, we were supposed to get new uniforms in April, but unfortunately that hasn't happened. So I'm now walking around. When I put my shorts on, I've got about a choice of about 5 or 6 holes to put my legs through. Oh, so it's becoming quite obscene as well.
It should help when you, if your zipper ever gets stuck and you need to go to the toilet.
Or I need to just get out of my shorts, yeah.
What?
No, I'm not doing that, because that's the problem in the first place, that things might fall out of my shorts.
You got one in the crotch area.
Where do you think the holes are?
It's always in the crotch area.
They're all there.
I don't know why is it always in the crotch area.
I think there's a reason.
It's just because you stretch it more.
Yeah, that'll be the reason. Yeah.
Not because.
No, it won't be that reason. Anyway, what are we talking about today?
Flight.
Flight. Okay. What, like the darts flights? Because I've done 4 pages on darts, so that's okay, yeah?
No, we're not talking about darts.
Joke.
I need to sneeze, Dad.
Do you? Can you sneeze away from your mic? Bless you. Oh, lovely.
I feel like something came out then, but I didn't see where it went.
Did, and I haven't even got my glasses on, so that's great. Something to look forward to a bit later on. Can you get back to your mug? Oh, right, great. Yeah, lovely. Anyway, so we're talking about sort of...
That was me making that fly.
History of flight, really, or how it came about. What is our fascination with flight and wanting to fly?
I think man has always wanted to fly, have they not? They saw the birds in the sky and they thought, And
it has been a bit of an obsession as well. And when I started looking into it, I mean, it starts with sort of kites and things like that, very much in Asia as well. So it starts with kites and balloons and bits and pieces like that. There were tower jumpers as well, and these are people that sort of attach wings to their arms, their feathers to their arms, and just jump off things, thinking that that would enable them to fly, because obviously birds have got feathers, so surely that's the only thing that means that the birds stay up in the sky.
That's why you see planes coated with feathers.
It is, and we'll come on to that a bit later on. But so people used to do this tower jumping. This was all over the world as well. But I mean, they used to jump off these things, and quite sort of often they would get really badly injured but people would still try and do it because people were obsessed about being the first person to be able to do it. But people died. Loads of people died doing it as well. And one of the things they kept identifying, and it is quite interesting really, is they used to cover their arms with feathers, but none of them had a tail. And it started to become this bit of an obsession that perhaps that's the thing that keeps the birds up in the sky. But it's a combination. And when you start looking at the stuff that came out over the years that we look at flight, helicopters and planes as we know them now, that's what they've got. There's a balance to it all.
Yeah.
And that's something they didn't have right at the beginning. But there was also, and again in China and Japan, they used to have these sort of bamboo rotor wing sort of toys. They were. So basically, these Chinese toys would sort of spin and go up in the air. So they'd become aware of what would make something rise into the sky. Something, even on a small scale. And let's face it, everything that's been invented is probably being invented on a small scale before it's like a prototype. Yes, Connor Harding.
Yeah. I was just going to ask, what came first, the aeroplane or the paper aeroplane?
Paper aeroplane.
Did it?
No.
Oh.
Because how would they have known to make it into the shape of a plane?
Well, this was my point as well. It might have been that was one of the early planes was paper.
Well, that's very true.
Strictly speaking, they came together.
Yeah, no, that is true. But then other people were having ideas. So famously, Leonardo DiCaprio, right, before he did Titanic, in the 15th century, he had these dreams of flight. Obviously, I mean Da Vinci.
No way.
Or the turtle. Dream of flight. He done designs for, and I think one of them was a helicopter or looked like a helicopter. It had that same thing about the rotors and all the rest of it. And unfortunately, though, he had the design and he had the sort of vision to do these things, but the science behind it was never going to work. There wasn't, in his drawings and the way he said, the mechanics of it weren't as they should be. They were never going to actually get off the ground. This discovery of hydrogen gas in 18th century obviously meant that we then went and had balloons and were used in the military. And obviously, one of the things I did find out. Now, have you heard of like Zeppelins?
Yeah.
Right.
Led Zeppelin.
No,
band.
not Led Zeppelin,
right.
But Zeppelin, like the airships, right?
I'm also aware of them.
Did you know? And
no way, there's a did you know.
There's a did you know so early in here. The airships were pioneered by Ferdinand von Zeppelin. That's why they're called Zeppelins.
That's why they're called Zeppelins.
I did not know that.
Not Blimp.
No. Bobby von Blimp. Ferdinand von Zeppelin. What an excellent name. That is just a super name. Yeah, he deserves a mention anyway. So obviously that was used, and all along military has been involved in all this as well, because
military is involved in anything that would advance.
Yeah,
put them at a better standing against someone else.
Yeah, so all the time they're looking for new ways to do things, and so as the years have gone past, quite famously again, you've got Wilbur and Orville Wright.
Yep, the Wright brothers.
The Americans, the Wright brothers. On the 17th of December 1903, they piloted they'd done a series over a week, so a series of flights, but I think the longest flight was 12 seconds, covered 180 feet, but was piloted by Orville. Did you know that I reckon Keith Harris probably chose the name Orville for his bird, the ventriloquist doll, because of the Wright brothers? Because he's always singing, I wish I could fly right up in the sky, but I can't. You can. I can't.
But the point being, you're saying, I reckon. Did you know I reckon?
No, this is a fact that I think I've just invented, but it may be well known anyway. It's bound to be the reason.
Well, you could probably look that up.
Well, yeah, I could look that up, and I'll probably find out after this. So that proved that human flight was possible. There was lots of other people doing the similar sort of things, as you can imagine, around the world as well. Because
hang on.
Are you imagining
I'm
it?
imagining it.
Okay, you're imagining it. So that was the
okay.
Kitty Hawk flyer. On the 14th of September 1939, the first practical helicopter was what would you call it? Launched? It's not launched, is it? It's first flight of the first practical helicopter with a tail rotor design. So straight away they're starting to understand that the balance has got to be between going up and going forward and pitching and everything else that's involved in this. So there's some real, obviously the science in it. Unfortunately, the trial and error in getting these things off the ground, as I said before.
Hey,
I think I said that joke already.
It's a smaller notebook to your normal one.
It is a smaller notebook, yeah. Meant that there was a lot of they crashed and burned quite often. I
assume the wooden ones wouldn't do that.
What, crashed and burned?
If they're just pure wood.
It depends what they're made out of.
Well, I just said pure wood.
Yeah, well, they could.
Like the Wright brothers one, if they crashed it, it probably wouldn't burn.
Everything when it hits the ground explodes, doesn't it? If
like
TV's
if you drop
anything,
a cat too high and it explodes.
It does. That's the thing, though, isn't it? It's when you stand on the top of a building. That's what they've always said, isn't it? If you drop something from a high enough building, it will explode when it hits the ground and kill everybody there.
Everyone.
Yeah, a sandwich. If you had a sandwich and you dropped it from the Empire State Human, I've read this somewhere, I'm sure, and you dropped it from the Empire State Empire State, that's a Human League song, Empire State Building, it would explode as it hit the ground.
I'm not being funny. If you drop a sandwich, when you say explode, not within a ball of fire.
Yeah, no, big explosion.
No. Drop a ping pong ball. It will float down near enough.
But as it hits the ground, because it doesn't matter how dense that object is, when it hits the ground, it explodes. Anyway, we ain't got time for that. I'm very conscious of the time that you didn't switch on at the beginning. 15th of June 1919, the first non-stop Atlantic flight. And it went from Newfoundland in Canada to Ireland. Just
don't feel too pressured, by the way. We can go on to my bit if you want.
Okay.
As in, like...
We'll do then. That was a 1,890-mile trip on a twin-engine plane. It took 16 hours, right?
Yeah.
And an average speed of 120 miles per hour. Then you go on to something now...
It's quite slow by today's
standards. That was 1919. At 1939, 20 years later, the first commercial flight. Atlantic flight. So that was Pan-American, Pan Am. New York to Marseille in France. It would cost you $375. A one-way trip, that is. $375.
That's less than what it is now.
Yes, but if you think about how much it costs, yeah. At that point, that was incredibly expensive. In 1939, that would have been really, really expensive. Only certain people would be able to do that. A bit like, we'll come on to it right at the end, but a bit like where we are now with sort of space flight and stuff, commercially. First supersonic flight, October the 14th, 1947. The Bell X... yeah, I know. It made me laugh when I read that. The Bell X-1 rocket-powered research plane, and it broke the sound barrier. Yeah, so that was a first again.
I always got confused with supersonic. I understand that Sonic was called that now because he went so fast. In hindsight, but I used to think that when you had a sonic boom, it was named after the blue hedgehog.
Did you?
Yeah, because we used to go down the air show quite a lot. Obviously, when I was younger.
There was a lot of hedgehogs down there, weren't there?
But you'd always hear like the sonic boom and stuff like that.
That's incredible. And if you're ever in
it'd be really interesting watching this plane fly over, and then the sound of the plane would follow a couple months later.
We know this from being in Wales a few years ago. When you're in places like that, and you've got quite often got air bases, and up in Scotland as well, where they do low flying, where they know that it's not going to cause as much damage. But it's incredible. It's quite scary, but it's incredible when you see and hear it happening.
But you can see why going so fast might be of an advantage, because you won't hear them coming until after they've been.
And you get there a bit quicker, yeah. No, absolutely. And the manoeuvring of these things and all the rest of it. But I'm absolutely flying through this.
Go faster than the speed of sound. That's crazy.
Yeah, what it is It is. Now, we go on flights, and more recently we've been on flights to America. Now, we fly from England to the east coast of the United States.
Yep.
It takes us, 9.5 hours, something like that?
Yeah.
Always makes me laugh that it takes less time coming back. I know it's because you go at a slightly different route, but you can't help thinking it's downhill. When Concorde was first thought of, and the design, that was quite incredible because it was a new design. It had the sort of dropping nose cone, and there was something different, very much like a paper aeroplane. It looked more like that than anything that had come before. The first flight of that was the 2nd of March 1969. It was introduced on the 21st of January 76, and then they retired it. There was a few problems towards the end. They did have a crash and that on the 24th of October 2003. There was only 20 of them, I think, made.
Yeah.
Top speed, 2,179 kilometres an hour, right? You could go from London to New York in 3.5 hours. And I've known of people that have been up in Concorde. I don't know whether it was more of a pleasure flight than it was the actual flight. But that must have been incredible. I mean,
make a weekend trip to New York, because people go for a weekend to New York, but make it feel like it's more worth it.
Well, you could pretty much commute. If you could afford it. But this, obviously, with the time difference as well,
New
might
York
throw
each week and come home at weekends.
Yeah, but obviously, you wouldn't, once you're up in above the clouds, you don't get that sense of speed really anyway. But it must be very different. It must be different to what we've experienced.
Yeah,
you must be able to see that. So basically, they're always testing, they're always going forward, they're always looking at ways to go faster, greater manoeuvrability on these things. And as I say, and you'll probably go on to this, but they're looking now commercially to go up into space. We've had the space shuttle, which was very much designed around the plane, and now they're looking at to go up in space with what are the two? So the Richard Branson one,
two.
Yeah, but the ones that particularly
Richard Branson's got Virgin Galactic.
That's Galactic,
and then you've got,
isn't it?
Elon Musk's SpaceX.
Yeah,
and then you've got, is it? What's his name? I can't remember his name now.
Not Ferdinand von Zeppelin.
No, the one that owns Amazon, or owned Amazon.
Oh, what? The one you didn't get
Jeff
in the
Bezos.
quiz? Yeah,
Jeff Bezos.
You still have got a mental block on
Blue
him, haven't you?
Horizon, and it looks like a big willy.
That's right. He seems to do things like that, doesn't he?
Father and Sundays present Things You Didn't Know That Happened Ages Ago.
In the entire state of Ohio in 1895, there were only 2 cars on the road, and the drivers of these 2 cars managed to crash into each other. Unbelievable.
Right, so we've spoken a bit about the history of flight, which you were having a look into.
Yes, a comprehensive guide to the history of flight. I can't think that anybody would have a problem with that.
No, I can't think of any problems there at all. But really, it comes to make you think about what, how do things fly?
Well, it's one of the things I think of every time I'm up in one, because I'm quite a nervous flyer, and it still baffles me how these huge things with all this weight actually do what they need to do.
Yeah, and we're mainly talking about man-made flying machines.
Yeah. What as opposed to what? Birds?
Yeah.
I know how birds work.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Go on in.
Well, they flap their wings and use their tails as like rudders, and they move from tree to tree. That's quite simple.
Just
Everybody knows
jumps.
that. Well, they don't jump. They kind of launch themselves, don't they? And then it's a combination of flapping and gliding, depending on how graceful the bird is. And some birds flap quicker than other birds, as we all know as well. I mean,
Why can I not flap my arms so fast that I fly?
Well, there's several reasons. You can't. anyway, your ratio from like your weight is something that will hold you down, and gravity will hold you down on the ground, right? You don't possess feathers, which is another thing that helps birds, right? You haven't got a beak.
It's the beak, the big key detail.
Yeah. And, you know, and other things.
I would say it's primarily the surface area of my arms.
That's one of the big things, yeah.
Because bumblebees, though, how do they fly?
They create some sort of resonance that goes on.
Resonance.
Like, that's
do you know what resonance means?
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Well, I thought I did.
What does resonance mean?
Resonance?
Yeah.
It's like the sound. It's like a vibration.
It's not it's when something resonates, and people talk about with like when you agree with something,
Yeah.
it matches the same wavelength.
Yeah, well, they
so
have this.
often when it matches the
you
same
heard them?
wavelength, it will amplify it as well.
So when a bee goes bzzz like that, it vibrates, right? And those vibrations move it into the air. It's got wings as well, which obviously it uses, but it's a combination of those two. Any other animal you want me to tell you how they work?
Yeah, flying squirrel.
Flying squirrel. So see, the flying squirrel's got. It doesn't really fly. It glides. Right.
This one's actually correct, yeah.
Yeah, it glides. So it goes up a tree like a normal squirrel, and then it's got webbed bits, right? And when it jumps, it expands its arms, and it's got a like membrane like a bat, and that's what then it can glide onto another tree, but it doesn't actually fly.
You know what, we'll go on to that a bit more in a moment, because I think we'll start off...
Wow, I'm going to do my own podcast series just on how animals work. In fact, it might be a new feature.
That's good. I like that. So, I mean, I wasn't too sure of the bumblebee one, but, you know. So, let's start off with flight. Like you said, Led Zeppelin, when they started flying.
Yeah.
That's when they discovered hydrogen.
Right.
And do you know the reason why hydrogen would help in flight?
Because it's lighter than... air?
Yeah, it's less dense than air, and it means it will...
Wow.
It will... it will go...
I'm on fire. Much like a lot of the Zeppelins were, because it was very combustible, wasn't it?
Yeah, hydrogen is very combustible. I mean, it's what powers stars.
Old Brian Cox.
And old Brian Cox. You know, he's probably...
about the same age as me. He looks a lot better than me,
doesn't he? Dissimilar.
Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, anyway, it's less dense than air, which means it goes up, and it does reach a point in the atmosphere where it would kind of match it, as well as the other things that adjust its height there. But that basic principle is it's lighter than air, and the same kind of thing goes for hot air balloons. Is hot air is less dense than cooler air, and which means it can increase, and then most of the time with a hot air balloon it just goes up, and then it just gradually kind of falls back down again.
Yeah.
And then they just bring it back up again. And do you know how they fly them around, actually, and get them to certain locations?
How they fly them around?
They basically get them up to a point where the current in the air is going in a certain direction that they want to go in.
Well, how do they know it's going to do that?
You just stick your finger,
Yeah, but then you can't ever have a planned balloon flight from one place to the next.
No, they're not very easy to plan.
Oh, right, okay.
They're quite turbulent. But anyway, that's those ones. It's that basic principle is just the fact that you're putting something in that's less dense.
Wow.
And the reason that works, and it's similar actually to how the other flight works as well to a certain extent. Are you aware of Newton's laws?
Don't wear a top hat in an open top bus under a low bridge. That's the first one, isn't it?
Yeah, something like that. I think it can also be put in the way that it's a body at rest in its a body at rest persists in its state of rest, and a body in motion remains in its constant motion along a straight line unless acted upon by external force.
Right, I didn't understand any of that for two reasons. There was lots of words that I don't understand, and you said it really fast. Is there a simpler way to?
It's the idea of momentum. So
give me an example with squirrels.
So a squirrel, if it's gliding, will continue to glide in one singular direction unless it is stopped by an external force, whether that be
a tree,
which is an external force and it means it falls, or it could be another squirrel going the other way and they crash.
Oh my God, not
And
another
if it's-
squirrel.
if
Like in Ohio.
If it's a bigger squirrel, it might mean that it goes backwards a little bit. Anyway,
All right, okay.
that's the first law, but that's not really the one we're looking for.
Right.
The second law is to do force equals mass times acceleration, but again, not really one we're looking for. Newton's third law, and you would have definitely know this one.
Yep.
Do you want to have a guess?
It's about gravity, isn't it?
Nope.
No, it isn't, no.
That's more so the one before it, to be fair.
No, I suppose so, yeah. But you didn't say that, so that's what confused me. No, go on, say it, because I'm going to feel
To
stupid
every
otherwise.
action, there is an equal and opposite reaction.
Yeah.
So, what I mean by this is, so a plane works.
Squirrels, please.
I can do it with squirrels if you want. Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, okay.
So you know they've got the wings.
Yeah. These are flying squirrels, yeah.
Yeah. So the basic principle is there is an increased pressure
Yeah.
on the lower bit of the wing,
Part of the squirrel, yeah.
lower part of the squirrel, lower part of the wing.
Yeah.
Yeah. That because there's more.
No, do it with a plane. Do it with a plane.
It's slower moving air and it creates more pressure
Yeah.
underneath
Yeah.
than what is on the top.
Yeah.
And there's a lower pressure on the top. And it's normally by the angle. You can imagine that if you're slicing through the air in a straight line,
Yeah.
then an equal amount of air goes top and bottom. But if you're slicing through the air with a slight tilt,
Yeah.
you're going to get more funneled down into this section than below.
The bottom section.
You get more funneled down to the lower section. And then the top section, there'll be less air as it passes through the air.
Okay. Right.
Do you know what I mean? So that means that there's going to be a greater pressure here pushing up to what is
To
pushing,
lift it, yeah.
pushing down. And what is pushing down is also matched with the weight. So basically, there's a greater force pushing up,
Right. Okay.
and that's how it can take off.
Yeah.
Yeah? That's essentially how a plane would fly, and the steering is to do with the rudders, stuff like that. A helicopter,
Yeah.
really interestingly, it works in a similar type way. It spins really fast. Yeah.
Yeah.
The propellers are at an angle, which means they also create a greater pressure underneath.
Yeah.
And then what is on top means they can lift up. And when they come down, it's basically just controlled falling.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't.
I've been in
You
a
can go up.
helicopter.
You can go up, but you can't come down in the helicopter. You don't spin the blades the other way.
No.
You can't come down. It's just
And the
controlled
tail
falling.
blade is purely for direction.
Well, the tail. If you were to put a helicopter, yeah, and you did not have a tail rotor blade,
Yeah.
yeah, it would just spin.
Right. Okay.
So the reason that's there, it's not necessarily for direction because
It's a counter.
You steer, yes.
Right. So it's a counter.
It's a counter force essentially.
Counter force against the
against the rotation because the
Yeah.
rotation would cause it to spin in the opposite
so
direction.
that actually keeps it from doing that.
So it keeps
because
it from doing it
holds
and means
in
it
one
can
place.
also climb.
Excuse me. Yeah.
Because actually the way you fly a helicopter is actually through leaning. And you can, in fact, if you've got a small enough helicopter,
Yeah.
you can actually let go of the sticks
Right.
and then just lean from a side and you'll be able to turn the helicopter.
Oh, right. Blimey, I wouldn't want to do that though. I went up in a helicopter a few years back and I
enjoy
paid a little bit extra to go in the front.
Did you actually?
Yeah. And it had a glass bottom to it. So you could literally, I was looking at my feet and looking out. It was.
Do you know why
it
they
was-
have a glass bottom?
So you can see out of it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can see yourself landing.
Oh, right. Okay.
Because otherwise they're just going to go, I don't know where I'm landing. Can't see
Oh,
underneath
fair
them.
enough. Yeah. Okay. But not all helicopters have
No,
that.
not
do
all
they?
helicopters,
Right,
but it's
I was
quite
gonna
handy
say,
to have a glass bottom.
This was just like a commercial one. But it was quite incredible. Obviously very noisy.
It's a bit like
Um,
microwaves. I can tell you a thing about microwaves as well if you want.
What? You
Not
have
about
to
them
see
flying.
the glass bottom of a
But
microwave.
you know we've got a glass front,
Yeah.
and they've got the little circles.
Right.
Yeah, the little circles are basically. So you got the microwaves inside the microwave, hence the
yeah.
reason it's called the microwave or the microwave. The waves are actually bigger than that of the holes. that's why the holes are that size, because the microwaves can't make their way through those holes.
Shut up.
Yeah. If the holes were bigger, then the microwaves would be able to come out, and that's when it could cause problems. But alternatively, what you do is you just completely block off the front. However, they know that people want to be able to see their stuff cooking, hence
exploding in there.
Hence the reason we've got the glass there and the small holes. It would be essentially just as good just to have it completely black and we can't see in. But people want to be able to see their food cooking, and that's why that glass is there.
Excellent. Well, going back to the helicopter, it was an experience. I've obviously been in a plane. I've been in a light aircraft as well, and that you really feel everything that goes on there. But the helicopter was a different experience, and it was quite... I am a nervous flyer, but it was quite exhilarating.
The helicopter would probably be big enough that... Yeah, if you all leaned, you probably. But if just you leaning one side,
it does pitch. You really feel it pitching as he was banking round, and he was pointing out different bits and pieces to me. He had a really hilarious name as well, Captain. I think it was something like Captain Wolf, but I can't think exactly what it was.
Yeah,
I do remember it.
This is the thing though of helicopters; they've got no forward motion.
Yeah.
See, a plane works by creating that thrust that pushes all the air underneath the wing, that pushes it up. But a helicopter goes up and goes down, and essentially that's all it could do if it wasn't able to pitch. It leans forwards and also pushes everything behind it. Well, it actually pushes itself. With a rocket, a rocket is the same as the equal opposite reaction. Yeah. So
wow, it's the same as the equal opposite of the reaction.
No, it's the same. It's the same principle, is what I mean.
All right.
So you're basically pushing all that fuel and pushing all that exhaust down and pushing everything down, creating that downward thrust. What that is doing is it's pushing the rocket up. So essentially the rocket is pushing itself up.
Yeah.
Rather than that's essentially what it's doing.
Rather than. Yeah. No, I get that. I get that with rockets. But yeah.
Oh, I didn't need to explain rockets. You're an expert on rockets.
I'm pretty good on rockets, yeah. I've seen rockets go up and things like that.
You've seen planes?
I've seen planes go up, but yeah.
And you've seen squirrels?
I've seen many squirrels, yeah. But I think with planes, it's the fact, I guess, that if you're a nervous flyer and you look at these huge jumbo jets that we get on, these huge planes that you have hundreds and hundreds of people on them, and you don't appear when you're going down a runway to be going that fast. You seem to be going a reasonable speed, but you don't seem to be going that fast. And then the old flaps go up. I'm not just talking about me because I'm nervous, but the flaps go up to obviously create that sort of pitch, and then the engines, I presume the engines are full sort of throttle for the speed to get it to a point where it can, a bit like the Back to the Future car, so it can start to lift. But it's just I guess as a nervous flyer you look at it and you think, wow, how is this huge heavy object staying up in the sky? And then when you're flying, it just, the bit about it that it always sort of phases me is when you look at, when we go on the flights, the 9.5 hour flights, God, you get bored to tears. So you look at the screen where you see where you're going, the distance, and it says on there how high you are, how fast you're going. And I guess when the speeds we're talking about and the height we're talking about, it sort of blows your mind. It's not something you can comprehend. If you drive a car and you drive a car at 70, you know you're going up fast in a car. Yeah. If you're in a plane and it's going whatever 100 miles an hour, have a multiple sort of, you just can't comprehend it.
The majority of your life,
you haven't got, and because a majority of your time in a plane on them sort of traveling, you're above the clouds. You've got nothing to gauge it by. Either.
Well, yeah. The majority of your life, you are. This is the thing that makes me think: is the majority of your life, you're in close contact, or at least not that far away from the Earth.
Yeah.
Flight, though you are still within the Earth's atmosphere, you are pretty much leaving all that keeps you
No,
Yeah.
absolutely.
It keeps you safe. But yeah, flight's an amazing thing.
Certainly is.
Well, Dad, we haven't exactly got a sponsor this week, but we got something new and exciting, haven't we?
Yes, we've got a new and exciting enterprise that we're looking at. Something that I think will make us billionaires.
Yeah. So, is there any way we can introduce this enterprise?
Well, you could play it for a start.
Yeah, play our advert/song.
Yeah, play an advert/song. Yes, go for it.
I'd like to welcome you to FMS Airwaves. Thanks for choosing to fly with us. Take your seats and fasten that seatbelt. Your pilot Steve and your co-pilot's Gus. If you're thinking of using the toilet, make sure it's ones and not number twos. There's a problem with the onboard plumbing. You could be up to your knees in the pool.
This is your pilot speaking. This is a flight where you must wear clothes. Can please everybody please put their clothes back on? Thank you.
Please make use of the onboard entertainment. 15 channels of the same old stuff. Back to back airing of FNS podcast. There's sick bags if you start to feel rough. We've got a vegetarian option. I say an option, it's an empty plate. It's your own fault for being so fussy. That's why your power went as thin as a rake.
And ladies and gentlemen, once again, please make sure all your seatbelts securely fastened. All electronic equipment must be switched off. This includes laptops, mobile phones, and Kindles. We'll have these shortly.
Please can I ask you to count your children? Any left will have to be destroyed. The best of luck with finding your luggage. Start your holiday upset and annoyed. Thanks for flying FNS Airwaves. I hope your flight was a pleasant one. If it wasn't and you've got a query, just pack her up and kiss my bum.
Hello, once again, this is your pilot speaking. As I have previously told you, can you please all put your clothes back on? This is a flight. I'm not as scared to turn this plane around. Please do not make me turn this plane around because I've had enough of your nonsense, all of you. Thank you. Bye.
Game time.
Right then, Dad. So it's all out in the open. We may or may not, probably not, be opening a new airline.
Well, I'm a little bit concerned that people aren't buying our merchandise.
Yeah.
Right? Because we put a lot of effort into that, right? And even though, I mean, some weeks we plead. We really do plead. So it was time to look elsewhere. And we will be selling the merchandise.
You only be able to board the flight.
On the
if you
flight,
want.
right? Like when our people come round, when the trolleys, there will be, there will be items that you'll be able to buy. But I think this is going to be the golden nugget. This is going to be
We've got
the
some golden
ticket.
nuggets in the cupboard downstairs.
Oh, I like them. I might have them tomorrow morning. This is, I think, what's going to push us to the next level.
Yeah, I reckon you're right. I reckon you're absolutely right. But the thing is we both know commercial flight. Oh, so utterly boring. Sitting there for hours and hours, especially like going to Florida takes 9 hours, yeah? And you're sitting there, your legs are aching, and it's all good for like the first hour.
Oh, yeah.
And then you realise that you've only just come off the coast of the UK pretty much, and then you've still got so much more to go.
I would say out of that 9 to 9.5 hours, right, 8.5 hours of it is pure boredom.
Yeah.
It's only the beginning and the end that's anything exciting. So perhaps we should brainstorm some stuff.
Yeah, make our airline the best airline.
Absolutely. I've got a little sting. Do you want to play it?
I'll play the sting.
When you're on a plane, it always feels the same. Cramming films and waiting for some food. Wouldn't it be great to have a wee debate, to talk about the things we'd like to do?
Right then, so big ideas. This is a brainstorming session to try and work out.
Any idea is a good idea.
Yep. Tell you what, you go first.
Okay.
What ideas have you got to make F&S Airlines or Father and Son Airlines or Father and Sundays Airlines?
Well, I missed out
Or
the day.
Father and Son planes.
Oh, Father and Son planes, yeah. It didn't actually, when I was doing the song, it didn't actually scan across that, so that's why I didn't use it like that. But yeah, we can go
I
with
will
that.
point out that F&S Airways sounds a bit like FS Airways, which could be taken as FS in tech speak, normally means something else.
That's fine, I don't care. Get all the young people along. Anyway, one of the things that really bother me on planes, right,
Yeah.
is being a 53, nearly 54-year-old man. I've got a prostate the size of a fire hydrant.
I wonder where this is going.
And so I worry whenever I go anywhere about going to the toilet. Now, that's fine.
I thought you were going to look
I've been
for
on many planes.
a special massage chair on the plane.
No, that's one of the other things. So basically, when I go on a plane, you have a period of time to go to the toilet. You've got plenty of time to go to the toilet, especially if it's a 9-hour flight. However, you get up, everybody knows what you're doing, right? Then you've got to go to the toilet. You quite often have to line up. If there's turbulence, they say, and I'm talking about outside.
Turbulence,
right? You have to go back to your seat. I mean,
and then
which
you
is
might get back in the queue if
I
everyone
might be
rushed
crowning
back.
at that point, so that's no good to me. So I think we should do away with the toilets. That
I
are on
think I
there,
know where this is going.
right? And I think individually on your seats, you should be able to have screens that come up on either side,
commode.
so it actually turns into a commode. The seat that you're sitting on, if you're doing number twos, it goes directly out of the plane.
Yep.
Right.
Like birds, it's only fair.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can
Like
put on top
that
of a
one
bird.
on my car today, the seagulls did. It really upset me because I washed it yesterday. And tinkles as well. And you do them,
Brain.
but you have the screens that go up.
Did you know birds don't wee? That's why.
It's all
It's
part
all- it's
of it.
all
Yeah,
one.
it's all part of it. Yeah.
And chickens only have one hole.
Yeah,
We've
a
discussed that
kalaka.
one before,
We've
yeah.
spoken about that. So basically, I think that would really help all sorts of people. It would help the younger children, mothers with infants and fathers with infants, because they could deal with that, and other people that aren't subjected to that absolute monstrosity of a smell.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, you're going to have some technology within it to mask everything that's going on, sound and everything else that goes with it. But I think I would be so much
I've
happier.
got
I'll
ideas.
just press a button, the screen would go up, I could do my business, the screen would come down, and then get on with what my day.
I've got ideas.
Go on.
Yeah. To make this so much easier. One,
Yeah.
who needs the screen? You can get rid of the screen, yeah?
Yeah.
If everyone has to wear something over their lap. So everyone has to go in and sit there, and then they're already ready to go all along.
So they're
with
wired
something
up
over
to
lap.
the...
So essentially, you're already hooked up. Your bum is already over the hole.
Yeah.
Yeah. All along.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's removing the screen ideas. That's one less bit of tech. And constantly throughout the flight, people play blow-off noises and weeing noises. Yeah.
So you can't determine
you
which
can't
is
determine
real and
which
which
is
is
real
not.
and which is fake. And there's a constant smell in the air.
But don't know is the only thing you got to watch with that is that, and I'm doing this because I mean it's an idea, but obviously you've got to get up if you're locked into something. You've got to get up and move around, haven't you? Because don't those people that that are in the brass section of orchestras have terrible trouble with they have to get up and walk around. It's deep vein trombonist, isn't it, that you can get on a plane, so you have to get up and walk about a bit.
I don't know what you're on about.
Right, okay. So
Piles?
No. Okay, so that's good. No, I like that. So what else are we going to do?
Right.
So I think that was a big seller in itself. So
Well, I was thinking, you know, when you've always got there's a big problem with leg room, yeah?
yeah,
So what I was thinking, it was almost like tiered seating, but the way this could work would be like Ferris wheels.
Yeah.
On the side, you have your seat. You get in your seat, and all three of your family kind of sit there.
Yeah.
And then it spins, and then the next family go in the next row, and the next family get in the next row, and it goes like 4 times. And then that means that you're all sitting at like one person's. You're like in a square shape.
Yeah.
But everyone's got leg room because no one has someone directly in front of
So
them.
your legs are dangling.
Yeah.
Like it.
Yeah. And you can recline because no one's there as well.
All right. Okay. So you'd still, and would everybody get window seats then? Or
No, because they're all still in a free.
they're still in your free.
But
so.
I guess everyone who's on the end of that free can still get a
Now,
window
would that
seat.
make it that
It
you
means
have
you get
more
more
people on a plane? Yeah,
Yeah.
because otherwise you're going to have, if you have the same amount of people on a plane, you're going to have a very sort of unaerodynamic plane, aren't you? Because it's going to be like it's going to be very, very sort of squashed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no, I like that. I like that a lot. So a bit like soaring in
Yes,
Epcot.
exactly like soaring.
In Epcot, and you're
Exactly,
not really
maybe not
aware
exactly.
of what's going on around you. Now,
And actually, it's a bit like Flight of Passage as well. If you end up looking up whilst you're on Flight of Passage, you can see people's legs dangling in front of you.
how do you get served your food and drink? On
the
sticks?
rotation basis.
On the rotation basis. So
Yeah.
it's when it's your turn, you'll come down to the bottom.
And actually, it makes work easier for the
Because they only have to stay in one place.
the stewards, yeah. So they stand there. They
Yeah.
serve 3 people. It spins. They serve 3 people. It spins. They serve 3 people. It spins. They serve 3 people. They spin it back to the initial person.
Yeah.
They go on to the next people, and then you're serving a whole total of 12 people at a time.
Yeah. No, great. I think that's a really good idea.
Thank you. Your next idea.
My next idea, entertainment on a plane, right? It sounds really good when you go on there because you think...
Well, our
I can-
podcast will be the entertainment for most people, won't it?
Well, it will be, but, you know, I want people to be able to have a range of things. I'm not going to try and ram it down their throat. So they can listen
I'm assuming
to...
they've already listened to every single episode
Well, they
by the
might
time they
only
get on the
have the
flight.
latest one
Yeah.
on there. So
Because they've already
that's only
listened to all the other
all the
63.
others, yeah.
It's just 64 they need to listen to.
Yeah, and so there's all these films to choose from. But I tell you what, I get bored, right? You can't really hear it in your headphones properly. You don't get the full sort of... what when you're in something, what is it? Immersive experience, right?
I think I know where this is
So
going as well.
instead of having films, I would have all the stewards and stewardesses dress up and act out the film in real time with all effects and everything else. So instead of say it's Die Hard you're watching, that's actually what's going on in front of you, right? Obviously a bit easier with Die Hard 2 because that's on a plane, some of it, but
or Snakes on a Plane.
Snakes on a Plane, you know, it might be at first a bit limited to things that are on a plane, right? But I think that
I reckon they're quite easy to do the Millennium Falcon scenes.
it will be just really
And
good.
Solos.
It will give the stewards something to do because really, once they've got you on the plane, giving you something to eat, and they just sit around. They don't have much to do,
Yeah.
do they?
No,
Just
I
wander
think-
up and down, looking at people.
This is a fantastic idea because cruise lines have been doing it for a long time. Why not
Absolutely.
planes?
Why not planes? You could have you could have cabaret. You could have all sorts of things. You could have a singer come on and do a slot. That like we could have someone like remember
Magicians
like
and-
Shirley Bassey, but it wasn't Shirley. It was Shirley as in Surely, wasn't it?
I don't know what you're talking about.
The tribute act. You could have people like that.
Or knife throwing, but hopefully there's no turbulence.
No, that could cause a problem.
Shall I go on to my next one?
Yes, okay.
So, I assume you've seen the 0G flights
Yep.
thing where they go straight up
Yep.
and then they come down.
Yep.
Well, why not that? Just be a bit of fun, wouldn't it?
Well, it would be. It would be
It
an
means that-
alternative.
I mean, it takes a while to get to your destination because you just keep going up and down. But it means that every, like, however often, every, like, 20 minutes, you get 0G. Be a
Well, I
bit of fun.
quite like that. Anyway, I would quite like that. And if there's 0G, the people in that Ferris wheel, the stewardesses and stewards could float up
Yeah.
and actually deal with the people at the top
Save
of it.
us electric
anyway,
costs of the Ferris wheel going around.
It will, because obviously that's
And
quite
actually,
a big...
for entertainment as well with the Ferris wheel, you could just have it constantly on. So they're like, way.
Yeah, no, I'll get you on that one. I quite like that. What about a door for every person that's on there? Because you know what really upsets me is when you land, right, and you're starting to look where the doors are, right?
Every person, or do you mean every person by the window seat?
No, every person has got a door. Every person has an exit from the plane personally for them.
So some people got like
underneath them,
yeah,
and some people to the side of them, left or right. So basically, when you get a land and you're actually sitting there, it gets really, really annoying. Everybody gets up, and you've still got sort of quarter of an hour before any of the doors will open so you can get off the plane. You don't know how near you are to one. You don't know how long it's going to take. You don't know. Sometimes, if you're in the middle of the plane, you don't know whether to go left or right.
I normally do know how near I am to one because it's normally the same door I came in on.
Yeah, but what if you had your own door?
Well, this is a very good idea.
Yeah, if you had your own door, no one will get aggravated. No one would start pushing each other and keep going and trying to get out of their aisle in a little gap as people going up the main aisles. No one would have to do that because no one would have to worry about it. And everybody would get off the plane. All the doors open at the same time, so you'll either fall through the ones on the floor or you
just drop.
Yeah, all right, but there'll be things underneath, like your cases and things like that. So, yeah.
And they all go out the same door when they get down there.
That's another thing. You can pick your case up straight away. You don't have to muck about with going in there. So I think that will be... I've done I put out some surveys on this, and that was one of the main things that come back.
Yeah.
People said, I want my own door.
Well, save time, and time is money.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, what I think, pilot up front, enjoying themselves, flying that plane. Mm-hmm. But, I feel like everyone wants to get involved. So why not in-flight flight simulators?
Well, I had a similar idea where you took turns flying the plane.
Yeah.
But I mean, obviously supervised, because I'm not stupid. I'm not going to pitch a stupid idea where we say people can go in. So this simulator idea might be a good one. And whoever lands a plane without crashing it gets their money back from the flight, right? As an incentive to not crash the plane. But you'll have someone,
crash it.
Yeah, they'll have someone helping out there. But I just think it'll be good. It's good to get people involved in the things you're doing, because you get, this is the thing, right?
Because you feel it's just sitting there.
You get in a taxi, right? Or you get on a train, or you get on a plane, and you get on there. You don't know what they're doing in that bit. It's all a bit of a mystery.
This is why I've started going and driving the train when I get on the train.
Well, this is it. This is what you should do, especially Docklands, because you can pretend you're driving a train because they haven't got a person driving it, so you can just sit on the front and make
it is in a room somewhere else.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I'm with that. I think that's a very good idea.
Yeah,
I think that could really sort of push up our numbers as far as people wanting to get that. It's just because you should make it not just a thing to get from A to B, but part of the experience of your holiday.
Absolutely. You got another one?
Just a couple of ones that I'd thought around. I think you should be able to have themed planes. So outside and in, they should be dressed up in certain themes. So a bit like when you go to somewhere like Disney and you go to a hotel that's like sort of Western, and then your hotel that's sort of
and they've even
New
sometimes
York
got different rooms that like
exactly.
One's Disney, Toy Story.
We
one's
talked about it earlier.
Stuff.
You could cover it so it looked like a parrot, and then inside it could be like a tiki room
or a squirrel,
and inside it's
like the internal organs
of a squirrel. Yeah, but whatever you want it to be. But I think it makes it more interesting, and you can teach people about the internal workings of a squirrel. And how it relates to flight by doing something like that.
You can feed so many birds with these scones.
Yes, you can. The only other thing I had, and I've
got one more.
Got a minute. I keep waking up in the middle of the night thinking of these. Was food on a plane, right?
Mm-hmm. That's the sequel to Snakes on a Plane.
Yeah, food on a plane, right? Everybody complains about it. I get salads every time I go. It's such a waste, right? And you eat everything, but is it? What would you rather have on a plane? What if you was on there and you think, I fancy a burger,
pizza oven,
or fancy a pizza, or I fancy a sub, or I fancy but it's a sub, isn't it? Like the thing.
Yeah.
Deliveroo. We should be able to have chartered smaller jets You order what you want from McDonald's, Burger King, other high class restaurants are available, and then we have these smaller jets or drones that come up with those food, usually without the dips you want, but with those, we're lining out those problems with your specific want on there.
Yeah.
No one on the plane has to cook anything. There's plenty of people out there that to want to do this sort of no 0 hour contracts. We're going to pay these people properly, or the drones, we won't pay them at all. But they'll come up and you say, I wanted a quarter pounder with cheese meal. That's what you'll get.
You know what? This is a great idea because we could match that up with our cruise line that will eventually open, or even a submarine cruise that will open, and they can have their food delivered by Scuba Eats.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was worth the whole of that episode just to get to Scuba Eats. I like it.
I got one more.
Yeah.
Yeah. So everyone wants a window seat, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, and everyone rushes for it. And even with, like, as a family, mum always wants window seat. I always want a window seat. I don't think Becky's that fussed. And
I always sacrifice it
and
just
you
for peace.
sacrifice it for peace. But in reality, everyone wants that window seat because it's just cool to look out there. Some people feel sick, blah, blah, blah. Well, you know where a way that everyone can have a window seat?
Glass planes?
No, convertible. So just take the roof off.
I love it.
Yeah, and saves weight.
Yeah.
So makes it easier.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, it gets rid of the smell from the commodes earlier as well.
The stars would look amazing.
Yeah, if you're flying at night and those flying squirrels accidentally get in your path.
Yeah, no, I all the wildlife you'd see.
Yeah.
It would make the sort of delivery of our food a lot easier as well.
It would, yeah.
I like that. I like the idea of having. I like sort of glass top things. I like the idea.
But sometimes you feel restricted by glass, don't you?
I mean, you could have the entire plane made of perspex.
Oh, that does sound good. Sounds terrifying.
So you're almost like a Wonder Woman's invisible plane, but you're all on it.
Oh my goodness, this is perfect.
Yeah. So everybody can see. They can see where their case is.
Yeah.
Right. They can see what's happening everywhere.
In the toilet.
It might go a little bit against my toilet idea, but I just think that's the way forward.
You can see that person scratching their bum in the seat in
you can
front
see
of
what
you.
the pilot. What I said about the mystery of what happens in the cockpit.
I will say, I'm not sure the commode idea and the Ferris wheel seats will work.
No, there's a few little
unless you have a suction that goes under the seat and tube and out the side.
There's a few little creases to iron out. I won't deny
and
that.
doors.
I'm not going to pretend that we don't have to work further on these ideas, but that's the whole point of this brainstorming exercise.
Yeah.
But I think we've got a few winners there.
We've got a few winners, and I'm looking forward to when we can actually make this a reality.
Yeah.
If you would like to actually
Go
join
on
us,
one of our
go on
flights.
our flights. Let us know
on our waiting list. If you'd like to go on our waiting list, please let us know quickly by contacting us.
Yeah, contact us. But if you don't want to just go on our flight, you can just contact us for any reason, such as a question, suggestion, comment, or complaint if you want to complain about some of our ideas. But if you really, really don't want this to happen, another good way of making that happen is to buy stuff in our store, because then we won't need to open an airline.
No, this could all be.
Or maybe we do both.
Well, I'd still think we should, but it would help us. It would help us in our pursuit of world domination. So anything you can do, anything you can contribute would be greatly appreciated.
Yeah. But that can be done in our store. But the website is also a great place. And just to remind you what the name is, it's fatherandsundays.com. You can get all the episodes on there. You got links to all the different podcast platforms because we're available on pretty much all of them. You can also go on our Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, follow and share on there.
Yep.
You can leave ratings on your chosen podcast platform. And also you can smile.
All right, lovely. Well, we haven't, as far as I know, had any comms in
Comms
this week. Any messages in?
No,
But I did. I don't know if a couple of weeks ago it might have been. You may remember that I had not an altercation, but a
Probably
discussion.
should let you say this before I did that other stuff, shouldn't I?
Yeah, you should have really, but never mind. I saw the guy that was furious about the King Arthur episode and the inaccuracies in there. He looked a little bit more mellowed out when I saw him. I did smile at him. I asked him if he was all right. How are you? I said, all okay? Just to see whether he'd completely ditched us as a podcast or not. Apparently not, because I tried to remember exactly what he said and wrote it down. He came back and said, if you mean about the podcast, I've decided to lower my expectations and expect everything to be inaccurate. That way, anything different is a bonus, and I might be pleasantly surprised. So what a wonderful way to...
He's going to love this episode because I think it's incredibly
this is going
accurate.
to blow his mind. And he
if you
works,
can't say he's a pilot as well.
I'm trying to think without identifying, but he works in a place which one of their main logos is squirrels. So it ties in all quite nicely, doesn't it?
That's good. That's really good. He's going to love this episode.
He's going to love this episode. But he just... And this is something for all of you out there. Don't get frustrated with us. Just lower your expectations. I think if you lower your expectations, everything's going to go. We'll all get along fine. So let's go forward together, eh?
Yeah.
And on that note, that's all I've got to say now.
All right then. Well,
should we just say bye-bye?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this today, and I'll say bye-bye for now.
Bye.